We get started. My name is Adrienne Asta. Welcome, everyone. I have the privilege of serving our industry as the president of the Massage Therapy Foundation in this moment. It's a joy and an honor, and I'm super excited for today's fireside chat. The fireside chat, it was an effort from the foundation to stay connected with our donors and constituents over the pandemic, and it was so lovely to do that. And so we decided, why stop? Why stop there? I'm joined by Chubbs right here in my treatment room, just coming out of a full day of treatment, and he was really helpful today. And a lot of that is because of the stuff that he and I read on IJTMB. So the International Journal of Therapeutic Massage and Bodywork, for those of you who don't know, I think everybody here knows, but just in case if you don't know, this is the profession's scientific journal, and really it is a unicorn of scientific journals in that we are free. Thank you to the Massage Therapy Foundation and the Registered Massage Therapist of British Columbia, who's our partner in funding this. It is open access, so we, as the reader, get a full article when we search for it. But also the researchers who want to submit an article also do not pay to submit their articles to the journal. And this is kind of unheard of in scientific journals. It's quarterly, it's fully online, it's peer reviewed. I already said open access. It is PubMed indexed. And did I miss any characteristics that I should be touting for the journal? No, I checked all the boxes. Okay, great. I am delighted to see some people on this call who were integral into starting this beautiful project that we're now celebrating 15 years. So John Boletto, you were president at the time of the Massage Therapy Foundation when the inception of IJTMB started. Dr. Amanda Baswell is here on the call. She's our current executive editor-in-chief for the journal. And on this
and
call,
Adrienne, Sarah is also on now. Sarah Fogarty, one of our other editors.
Sarah's one of our
she
editors.
Just joined.
Well. Hi, Sarah. Where are you? There you are. Hi. Hi there. So I would love to hear from anyone who's on the call who was there at the birth of IJTMB. John, I would love to hear, John Boletto, I'd love to hear some history and insight from when you were president and how this got started. It would be really great to just hear some anecdotes. Tell us about the birth of this.
Hi, sorry, I realized that I was on mute, so I had to unmute myself. So hi, everybody. Actually, this journal was, boy, it came about in a very circuitous way. Years and years and years ago, we tried as a foundation to create a database of articles, and we would take turns kind of searching through citations that were generated by a former foundation staff person, Allison Pittis. And we would kind of look through titles and look through abstracts to see what really was pertinent to us as massage professionals and really what wasn't. And it was very tedious, and it was very complex, and it was very difficult to manage electronically. And one of the challenges that we had was that the literature was spread over tons of professions. Some was in nursing, some was in physical therapy, some was in actual medical journals, but it was pretty disparate. And we were, I think, Ginny, I think we were in Quebec City for a convention, and Glenn Hemel and I were just having coffee.
Yep, 2001, right after 9/11.
Yeah, yep. So I think that was Quebec. And Glenn said, "You know what? We need our own journal." And I said, "Yeah, you're right." And he goes, "So?" I said, "So let's put a plan together." He said, "Put a plan together." And then Glenn just kind of took the ball and rolled with it. He had a couple of private phone conversations with other magazine publishers. And then he and I met with, oh, this is age. The gentleman's name is now Robert Calvert, who at the time was the editor of, or publisher, I think, of Massage Magazine. And we told him about the idea, and we said, what do you think about it? And he goes, it's probably never going to work. And I think that's what really put a fire under Glenn. And Glenn said, it's going to work. We have to make it work. And then another foundation staff person, former foundation staff person, I should say, Marcus Banks, who had left the foundation, but kept in touch with all of us. He was pursuing, I think it was his master's in library science?
Yes, correct.
Yeah. And we had a couple of conversations with Marcus, and he goes, guys, you really need to do this open access thing because it'll save you a ton of money. And that's pretty much how it all started. And then after that, Glenn Hemel just took the ball and ran with it. And he did tons of research. He came to the board with a proposal. And it actually was a pretty easy sell. Probably was the easiest sell during my terms as foundation president, because it was something that was just direly needed. And fortunately, it wasn't going to cost us a lot of money. So yeah, that's pretty much how it all began. I wish Glenn was on the call.
I'd add, I can't remember how many meetings we had, you and I and Glenn. And one of the things I just would add is initially we were planning to publish it hard copy.
Hard copy, yeah.
And so relatively speaking, it was, as John said, a lot cheaper online. Yeah. And being that it was 2001, 2002, it seems kind of silly now when Marcus did bring up and suggested us to have it be online. We were all like, because, print was the way,
was the way.
And he's like, I'm in my master's and this is the way it's going. It's saving folks money. And after, we looked at the comparison, to do this print versus online. And then you or Glenn found Multimed, who we are still with today out of Toronto.
Yeah.
The editorial publishing company that we work with through a conference. I know one of you were at, and, the rest is kind of history, but that's my own ad. And I did actually ask all the three of the, Jerry and I are the main staff that liaise with the editors and Multimed now, but our three former staff, I'm actually still friends with and connected with. Yeah. Christine Daskis, who was the last one before Jerry came on, and then you mentioned Allison Pittis, and then Marcus Banks, and who did become a librarian and writer. So it's interesting, but they all wished us well. They all got back to me and said they couldn't believe that IJTMB was 15 years old and wished us well, but they couldn't join us today. But it was an interesting beginning.
Well, and Glenn was instrumental in getting us PubMed indexed as well.
Yeah.
Glenn and I knew each other for a long time. We wrote books together. Just the sweetest, kindest, gentlest Southern human being that you would ever want to meet. But if he got his jaw on something, and he was meticulous too about how you went around and did things. And the journal was so fortunate to have him involved at that particular time.
You are so right, Sandy. He was integral. He was asked here to be here tonight. I did not hear back from him. I talked to him in the last probably 9 months, and he was still teaching remotely and doing okay, but lots of health problems. So that could be.
Ruth Werner has joined. Hi, Ruth. And I would love to hear your insights about IJTMB from your term as president, in particular, and just see the progression of how we got to where we were. How many years ago now was it? Right.
About 15 years.
Was it really 15?
Well, I came in, pardon me, I have a cough, but I don't have COVID. I heard a lot of what John had to say, and the interim person between me and John, of course, was Diana Thompson, who I still remember the pitches that she would make to large conferences about, this is a model like NPR, and you make you get it for free, but if you're into it, you make a donation. And I'll tell you what, I was the president of the foundation just by luck when the time came to sign the papers that involved us being listed in PubMed. And that is one of the proudest moments for me and I believe, for the Massage Therapy Foundation and profession, ever up to that point. And I really treasure being in a position to have done that. Now as a teacher, it is an amazing thing to be able to say, are you aware that you have a publication whose job is to give you information that you really, really need? And I look forward to my quarterly emails that tell me what's in this new edition. I'm so happy to see all these people here, people that I have worked with remotely. Like, hi, Sarah. Sarah Fogarty, because I got to participate a little bit in her very important paper about pregnancy-related complications. And Andrew, I see once in a while, and I have worked with Portia in other circumstances. Hi, Julie. Hi, Regina. I feel like Mrs. What was her name? Miss something on Romper Room.
Right.
And I see Sandy's here. Terry's here. Anyway, hi, everybody. And thank you so much for joining us. I was not expecting to speak, so I didn't prepare anything. I just happened to tune in, and it was like, oh, yeah, I can go to that. So.
Well, I appreciate you. I didn't mean to put you on the spot. I just wanted to, this is a little bit informal anyway. It's more conversational. And Amanda Basquel, Dr. Basquel has taken the reins. And Amanda, I would love to hear your perspective and your involvement with the journal from the first time, your first touchstone with the journal to this point.
First touchstone, well, as everyone's sort of telling their stories, I'm trying to think back to the first time that I heard about it. So I'm located in Ontario, and one of my mentors when I was in massage therapy school was Trish Dryden. So I don't know, many of the people around the table will know Trish. She's extraordinary advocate, educator, practitioner, and researcher in massage therapy. And so I was always the student just behind her. So when we were at one of the Massage Therapy Foundation conferences in Albuquerque, I got to go just because I got to carry the printouts that she needed that next day. And so through Trish, I got to hear all of the discussions that were starting to happen about research in the journal. That presentation at Albuquerque, I remember, was about case reports and case studies, which has been such an integral part of the journal. And so that I think was the sort of early beginnings for me, was just hearing the conversations kind of as a fly on the wall, but certainly grateful to have been in the background of those. And then I think probably my next interaction with the journal was as a reader, of course, and then as an author. And so just the ability to, at the time I was working at Humber College, and we had a massage therapy program. We were trying to support students to understand research and to start to engage in some research themselves. And so working with students to get a case study ready to submit to the journal was always extraordinary, just to see from the beginning the idea or the hesitation to have an idea of a student and then see them to work it through. And we did have, I think, 1 or 2 published. They didn't all make it there, but even just the process of having students want to publish in the IJTMB and knowing that their colleagues and their classmates were going to see that. And then I started supporting the journal as a reviewer. And so that was great for me as I was working through my master's in health research methodology. Every opportunity to read an article just gave me one more chance to apply what I was learning and really look at those methods and consider how we apply such an interesting science to what we do in practice. And so that has always been a really exciting part of my work that I do with the journal, and something that I really enjoy. And then I had the opportunity to move into, at the time it was a section editor position, and helping other authors try to get their manuscript across that line and get it into the coveted IJTMB. And then when Dr. Anne Blair Kennedy had to move on into other scholarly activities, I had the fortune of stepping into this role. And so I'm incredibly grateful to the Massage Therapy Foundation and the Registered Massage Therapists Association of British Columbia for all of their support of the journal, and the Massage Therapy Foundation team's support of me, and certainly of the editorial team as we do the work that we do. But yeah, that's my circuitous journey from fly on the wall to the current executive editor.
Thank you so much. There's a couple of things you mentioned that I'm going to come back to. But while we're talking through the relative journeys, Sarah Fogarty is one of our associate editors. And Sarah, I'd love to hear your journey with the journal, your journally.
I guess it's a little similar to Amanda. I actually don't feel like it's probably got the readership potentially in Australia that it may do in the US and in Canada, and I definitely feel there is a place where that could grow. So I guess I found out about it more so by accident. I found out about it through my association, but more through finding out about the Massage Foundation and that sort of stuff, and then found the journal. And similar to Amanda, I was invited to review some papers, and I was also, I had the privilege of working with the previous editors, and their support when you submit a paper, that it just always felt like they were wanting you to get it published, and their suggestions, even if they were not necessarily what you may have liked at the time, they always gave suggestions about how it could be improved and potentially be publishable, and to help you with that. And I was on the receiving end of some very exceptional support in getting particular certain articles published, which is amazing. And then I published, and then was able to apply for this role when it came up, when people left, and I feel very lucky that I was able to do this role.
We feel lucky as well. Thank you. And Luann Fortune popped on. She's our other associate editor. Luann, Amanda, and Sarah were telling us about their journey of how they got to this point. So would love to hear yours.
Thank you for asking me. I'm delighted to be here. This is my first year on the editorial staff, though I've been reviewing for the journal since probably around 2012 or so, since I first finished my own PhD. I am just delighted to be here because it feels like full circle for me. I've been a licensed massage therapist since we had licensing, so I've been practicing for over 30 years. I was an instructor at Potomac Massage Training Institute in Washington, D.C. for over 10 years, and that's what brought me back to my own doctoral studies. My PhD is in human development. My research, my dissertation research was on massage therapists, and Glenn Heimel was on my committee at the time that we were just starting up the journal. So I feel like I've come full circle in being able to serve in this way and contribute back into the body of research that's so very important to me as a massage therapist. I still have my license, but I'm full-time faculty, and I'm at Saybrook University in the Department of Mind-Body Medicine, where I also serve as the Associate Department Chair. And mind-body medicine involves the very thing that we're contributing to in the research through our journal publications. So it's very satisfying for me. And I love working with Amanda and Sarah. Glad to be here tonight.
Thank you. So our three editors touched on something that I want to explore a little bit here on the Fireside Chat, which is being a reviewer. So I'm saying that into a mirror, as I would also like to step up to the plate with I've had my name in the queue for a long time and I haven't reviewed anything yet. Yet is the key. And I think, we think about the journal, we hear about our editor's journey and reflect on on ABK and it's et cetera. And sometimes it feels out of reach, right? Whereas reviewing an article it keeps it more in touch and less like it's this thing that only PhDs do, right? And something that we as practitioners can also participate in. Is anybody who's not an editor on this call, have you reviewed for? Ruth has reviewed. Anybody else? John has reviewed. Matt has reviewed. Great. I would love to hear your experience as reviewers and what that's been like.
I've reviewed for, long time. And I also am on the board and review for Massage and Body Works, the one that Leon Chadow started with Elsevier. And it's such a learning experience for me every time I look through somebody else's research journey, and I can see how the pieces go together, because it's a critical thinking process to bring forth an article. And a lot of times what I will see if I have a comment is where a piece or two of that wasn't articulated. I'm sure it was there, but it wasn't articulated. And it's nice to be able to, give a little bit of feedback. But for me, I've always come out of it with an increase in understanding. Not new, usually, not brand new, but an increase in understanding of application to a population, or for me, an increase in understanding of how to help a person with evidence-informed thought processes in the textbooks I write. I'm a research user. I'm very much engaged in quality research as it then becomes a tool for creating a textbook. So those papers that I go through are teachers for me. And it always tickles me when I see somebody, our younger our new population coming forward. And that always is a bonus for all of that. I strongly encourage people to review.
I'll second that, with the understanding that it is not easy and it's not something that happens while you're not looking. And to be a reviewer is a tremendously generous act, because you become the gatekeeper in a way between this information and people who might be able to use it. So the reviewer is in the position of saying, is this good enough to turn loose? And if it's not, is it recoverable, or does it really need to just, not see the light of day? And that's a huge responsibility. And so for every comment or every judgment that you make, you have to analyze where that comes from. And as a thinker and a writer, that is a really, really good exercise. We need pardon me, we need reviewers for IJTMB and also for JBMT, which is the other journal that Sandy was talking about. We need reviewers who know our profession, and they're just, the overlap between people who are massage literate and people who are research literate is not deep. You don't have to be a full-blown researcher to be able to review an article. Your job is simply to look for strengths and weaknesses. But it's really, really important for people to do that and to take it seriously. The other thing I'd say is, whenever I sign on to review an article, my automatic caveat is I will review things on which I feel like I have an expert opinion. That does not include statistics. And that is, that is not uncommon. You're allowed to do that. So if you're thinking about maybe being a reviewer and you don't want to do that because you don't want to have to learn statistics, don't let that be a barrier. You're allowed to say, here's where I can give you good guidance, and here's where I cannot, because it's the job of the editors, isn't it, to find people who can fill those other, who can bring those other eyes into the project.
Thank you
one
for
of
that,
the
Ruth.
things that I've really grown to appreciate as a reviewer, and I've not worked with this team of editors yet, but former editor Albert Maraska, sometimes I would get a request and I would reply back, well, this really isn't my, it's not where my expertise lies. And he would call me up and have this conversation. He goes, yeah, I understand that. But he goes, you're a practitioner. You have your hands on people every single day. So I need someone to look at this from that perspective. Not necessarily, is this good research? Is this bad research? But sometimes he would say to me, is this something that you think practitioners could read, could understand, and then put to good use? And that was, he would call me out on that a lot. I mean, sometimes I'd submit a review and he'd go, you kind of left out one of the things that I wanted from you. And, and we talk about it. But the other thing he always said to me, he goes, whenever you review something, you look so much in detail at the protocol, at the massage protocol, and where you thought that was appropriate, and sometimes where you thought it was inappropriate. And I'll never forget this one study when to me, it was a decent study and it had decent results. I mean, again, I'm certainly not the statistics expert, but even I kind of understood the statistics. And I said, but Albert, this doesn't make sense to me. I would never work that way in this situation. And he said, well, is that because it's just not the way you work? And I said, no, because what they're saying and what they're doing don't seem to match. So it's like, well, I never thought about it that way. I said, well, that's because you're not a practitioner, really. you know. So yeah, it's the practitioners that can look at these you know, submissions with a very, very different lens. And it's like, wow, you know, that, yeah, I kind of see that.
Thanks, John. Amanda?
I'm so grateful to hear your experiences. And I also feel like Sandy, Ruth, and John all just received an email from the IJTMB asking them to review a manuscript. So I just wanted to jump on what Ruth was saying and John around expertise. And I want to invite everyone who is a reviewer or who is currently signing up to be a reviewer as they're on this fireside chat, to really take the opportunity to include your expertise, because that is one of the most challenging things for the associate editors and myself is sometimes in our system, people have gotten disrupted partway through their submission of all their information. We've got their name, you've got your email in the system, and then that's where it ends. And so we're looking at your name and thinking, what does this person know? I'm going to hope they know massage therapy. So let's try this one. And we're trying to connect people, and it's not as precise as we'd like it to be. And so we certainly don't want to be sending manuscripts to individuals and them feeling like, oh, I have to say no to this. It's not my expertise. So if you can go into your profile and update it with those areas that you really do feel comfortable being called on, that would be incredible. And we could certainly do a better job of matching you. And the second thing I just wanted to remind everybody is that the IJTMB, one of the beautiful things about it is that, yes, it has a robust research section, but we also have a practice and education section. So when you're thinking about being a reviewer, remember that it's not just research articles that'll come your way. Certainly that is the majority right now, but we are continuously reminding educators that what you're doing in practice, what you're doing in the classroom is of interest to others. And just because it's the everyday for you doesn't mean it's not worth writing up and sharing with the rest of the world. So we're going to continue those messages into the new year. But I thought it would be a good opportunity just to build on what folks were saying here around expertise and really remind you that, yes, you have a review contribution to make. It just might not be in the way that you're thinking.
Amazing. Approximately how long does it take to review?
Oh, Adrian.
I'll just
article.
Did your kids come home partway through, and did your dog disrupt you? Did somebody ring the doorbell? Anyways, I think someone had maybe a better response than it depends.
Well, I do.
My favorite response.
But a lot of it has to do with flags that might come up for you in terms of their supporting research and how deep you think you need to go into that and look at each one of those articles and make sure that it's being used in a way that can take some time, that it's actually supporting what it says it's supporting. And the I think a lot about what I read. I will read it and then I'll chew on it a while, and then I'll read it and I'll chew on it a while. So if I were going to say on average, probably about 12 hours, maybe. Sometimes it's less than that, and sometimes it can be spread out over a longer period of time.
I just saw Julie's eyebrows come out right off the top of her head. So, and I'll say that, I don't think that's unreasonable, but not all those 12 hours are at your computer or, with a thing in your hand. It's you're reading, you chew on it, you think about what makes it work or what makes it not work, which is, I always like to give positive feedback in my reviews, and I have editors come back and say to me, what do you want me to do with this comment that says, this is a very good point? Well, yeah, tell the author that this is a very
good point.
but it's because as I said earlier, every judgment that we make, we need to be able to defend, if you like. If that seems a little bit aggressive language maybe, but you need to be able to explain every point of view, and then it becomes the author's job to respond to every comment. And the thing I will also say about reviewing, as a person who receives reviews,
yes,
is that the author's job is not to make corrections according to what the reviewers say. The author's job is to decide if the reviewer's comment is, has validity, and then make appropriate changes, or to explain why not. And so every comment that a reviewer makes doesn't have to make a big change in the final development of the paper, but it makes the author think about their choices.
Well, and you can get also, as an author, I get lots of reviews every time I do a revision on a textbook, and you can have one person say XYZ, and you can have somebody else say XYZ sucks, So, and as more as the author, and I try to do this as a reviewer, as I try to justify why I would say something. If I question a piece of research, if I feel like the research is too old that they're using to justify, I'll actually go and create suggestions, and say, take a look at this and take a look at that. So my teacher in me comes out when I review a paper as well. So that's another little take on it. And I try to make my reviews to the point, but not stinging, having been at the other side of some really nasty slams. Stuff.
Thank you, Sandy. Luann, you have your hand up.
Yeah, I do. Thanks for recognizing me, and thanks for the wonderful conversation around this. As a reviewer, I think we can also think of ourselves as students, because not only are you learning something by the paper, but I frequently fall down what I call rabbit holes, where I will start reading some of the references, and I'll say to myself that I didn't even know about that in that whole other area. So, it can't take you 12 hours, because then it becomes a sort of self-study program, which is why we offer 3 units of continuing education for every paper that you review. Also, keep in mind that you're not reviewing it by yourself. There are other people who are reviewing it. So we try to find balance in voices that are looking at it, and where you may be strong in one area as a researcher practitioner, as a practitioner researcher, somebody else could balance you out. Plus, we've all looked at the paper too. So you're not there. It feels really lonely when you're reviewing a paper, but you're really part of a team. Thanks.
Amazing.
Yeah, the other thing too, as a reviewer, and I like Sandy's comment about about the teacher in you, and then the other side of the comment about the student in you. One of the things that I find that I do, and this is just by the way that I review, is I look at the paper as though it were a lesson plan, and this is the teacher trying to teach me something. And it's like, so, where are my questions? And, I was always the student in the back of the room that would just sit there and kind of take it all in, and then drew from books of discovery. And I would joke all the time. And Diana Thompson would say the same thing. Goes, yeah, you're the guys that sit in the back of the room, don't say anything. And then all of a sudden your hand goes up, and me as a teacher goes, uh-oh, like what's coming? And you both would say, like, excuse me, I've got 5 questions, So it's when you look at the article as, what is this trying to teach me? It kind of takes a whole different shape to the way that you're reading the article. And it's like I take my reviewer hat off, but it also gives me a little bit of clarity, because it's like, well, where are my questions on this? And are my questions, are they important, or is that just my question about this? Is it important to what this, what this person is trying to teach me, or what the person is trying to teach us as a profession? So yeah, there's a little bit of all of that that gets roped in. And yeah, that process sometimes can take quite a bit of time. Because yeah, you do really just have to sit and let what you're reading sink in, so you can really develop two things. One, an understanding of what's being written and what's being said, and then, about its applicability, and what's it going to do for the person who's actually going to the end user of this, Yeah.
Thanks, John. Matt, you have your hand up.
Yeah, I just wanted to add some comments since everybody seems pretty well seasoned in this. This was a new thing. Adrian, I had also been in the queue for a number of years, and just recently been in touch with Sarah and Amanda over the past month. And so for one, a bit of feedback for IJTMB is it was great that they persisted, because Sarah's initial email went in my junk folder, and I had no idea that they were asking me to help out. Unfortunately, Amanda later sent another email, and that one somehow snuck through. So be persistent. Thank you. The other thing I was thinking about as a new person, when I used to be in research prior to being a massage therapist, we didn't really publish protocols until the research had been completed. So what they sent me was actually a protocol, and my initial response was, why am I looking at this? Nothing's really been done yet. So I, got in touch with the two of them, and they kind of enlightened me on changes that are happening in the publishing world. So thanks for that. And I guess I would just reiterate what other folks have said. In my past experience and the way I treated this review was that I have a tendency to read it, step away from it for a while and just think about it. And then I go back, and then only that second time will I start maybe jotting down some notes and ideas or things that I want to look deeper into. It's been a good experience, and thank you for including me.
Thanks, Matt. Dr. Dottie Atkins, how you doing?
Hello. Can you hear me? I've been having fun with my computer. Can you hear me?
We can hear you great.
Oh, okay. I am so excited to be on. Hello, Ruth. I'm sorry I don't have my picture up here because I haven't used Zoom in a while. So I'm like pushing buttons and such. And Sandy, I just have to say, I loved your massage book. I mean, I was a teacher and instructor, and yours gave all of the science. So much science, and I just fell in love with it. It was too much for my students, so I had to back off and find a smaller, but I used it for my research. I am, again, Dr. Dorothea Atkins, massage therapist since 1999, and I found out, I'll say this real quick, that how one thing that was missing was that my clients did not know what to do at home. So I stopped massaging, and while they went to sleep, and I started teaching anatomy, basic anatomy. This is what muscle am I touching and all of that. And they could only talk to me. I told them, talk dirty. Tell me the muscles that are bothering you. So, and they began over the years, because I dealt with people who have chronic pain. But I learned that teaching them self-massage was the key that changed their lives and my therapy. And I visited their homes to see what was contributing to the pain. Soft cushions, mattresses that was old as they were, not proper pillow placement. And so I started teaching that right from the beginning, made a huge difference. So then how do I prove that? I went back to school to get my doctorate, and my research was on self-massage for osteoarthritis of the knee, was published through National Institute of the Massage Therapy Journal. And I have to say that I was so excited. I attended so many places when they accepted it. I was so excited, and spoke with Ruth on her the owl's nest. So
the research purge.
All these, all these years, finally, I got contacted from the University of Florida, seeing the value of teaching people in chronic osteoarthritis pain, because muscles move the joints and no one talks about the muscles. So they want to use my research as a protocol, and their technology is so much better. They're using we call it giving the clients, the potential clients, not participants, watches so they can monitor their massage technique. Oh my goodness! So I say all that to say, and I after 14 years of trying to get to speak at the massage convention, I did it this year. They accepted my proposal. I spoke. Oh my God! When I teach, I wear an anatomy suit. I teach to groups. I go to all these places. They call me, and I just talk to groups with an anatomy suit. It makes it real, because people do not know what muscles look like, and they don't know the anatomy. They don't know all of that. So I wanted to acknowledge and say I'm just so proud that my research was published, and I'm still on the trail, everybody. I'm still out there preaching self-massage as a self-management of chronic pain, because it works. Ta-da! Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you, Donnie. Appreciate you.
Yes.
Dorothea's research has been made into an infographic, which is one of the many resources that we offer on the Foundation's website. So if you go to the Foundation's website and look at our resources, there's infographics there, and you can see it's a great tool to give to your clients. There's a lot of infographics there that I keep here in my practice for situations such as that, and that is culled from the research that we do with IJTMB and from other sources as well. So I'm curious, what do you like to read in the journal? Are there, for us readers, what kind of articles do we gravitate toward? Julie.
Well, I just finished PTA's physical therapy assistant program, and I was using the journal for research for my papers in school, group projects, and I also had to do presentations at my various clinicals. So I used some of the articles on pain management and also like techniques to help with anything from knee pain, back pain, and did a lot of I just had to do a short each for my clinicals. So I took research from physical therapy journals, I took research from massage journals, and kind of put them together, mishmashed them together to help put my presentation together. And that really helped. And a lot of the clinical sites I was at were not aware that they had access to our journals. So that brought them like, oh, we can get access to those and pull things out. And I said, oh yeah, it's open to anyone, it's public. And they were like, oh, really? And then one of the physical therapists down at Henry Ford wants to start doing some research projects. So I said, well, why don't you reach out to the Massage Therapy Foundation to see if you can apply for a research grant? She says, "Oh, I thought it was only for massage therapists." So
Open access for sure. Yes.
I said, we're
Thank-
very inclusive. We're one of those inclusive groups. We don't, we don't exclude people.
Thank you, Julie. Brenda, I think we have time for one more before, unfortunately, our time is up. Time is flying because we're having so much fun. Brenda.
Thank you, everyone, for your wonderful insight and all of the work that's gone into the journal. And I just wanted to make a quick comment as far as what I look for. A lot of my clients are runners and athletes, so I tend to look for a lot of sports-related things, as well as recently leaning a little more into the nerve end of things. So looking to see how that correlates. And I was fascinated through some networking groups that I've belonged to. We've been using a lot with ChatGPT and Bard, and I am thrilled to say when I was messing around with it myself personally, I asked for some citations and they did use the journal and the Massage Therapy Foundation. So it's really nice to see that it's recognized even as this new AI technology is coming out. So I thank you all.
That's fantastic. All right. Do we have any questions for our editors, for me and my staff and board at this moment? And man, I am thrilled to see everybody here. Thank you so much. This was really great. I know we're all going to be reviewing, correct? Yes, I am. Good. Great. We'll see you there. Yeah, any last questions or comments? We have about 5 minutes. 4 minutes. All right. So we do have a webinar coming up with IJTMB scheduled for January. It'll be about the third week in the new year. We're still solidifying the date and time, so stay tuned for that. A couple of you have talked about being educators. We do have an education fireside or webinar coming up in October. So be on the lookout for that. And appreciate all of your participation, not only today, but as donors, and that you see the value. Please spread the word about not only the journal, but all of the good work that the foundation is doing with partnerships of our MTBC and the Canadian Massage Therapy Association, etc. It is heartwarming to see all of the work that we're doing. We couldn't do that without you or your donations. So everybody have an amazing night. And if you need anything from us, just feel free to drop us an email. You could drop it to me at president@massagetherapyfoundation.org. Thank you, everyone. Thanks for your time tonight.
Thanks, Adrian. Thanks, everybody.
Bye.